Hey there, everyone. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome to my channel. So, in the project today, I want to talk about mortgage refinance and create a decision support tool to help you understand, is it worth it to refinance your mortgage or not? And how much are you going to save if you do the refi? So, in New York State, it's very expensive to do a refinance. I think my wife and I paid like 20,000 or maybe 22,000. We did this before COVID. We had no idea that COVID was even coming, and got a pretty good rate. I think it's 2.875. But to get that rate, we had to pay, I forgot if it's 20,000 or 22,000. We could split the difference, say 21,000. It wasn't cheap, right? So I had to do a couple of calculations to make sure, is it worth the time and the effort and the cost to actually do this thing? Because that's a substantial chunk of money, right? If you're going to put down 21K, like how much am I actually going to save in the mortgage? It had to be worth it, had to add up. So I had to do some calculations, right? So basically, I came up with this tool to do all the work. It does the entire lift for you. I think it's pretty cool. So that's the big question, right? We were paying 3.75% before the refi, 2.875% after. So obviously you're saving money, but if you pay 21,000 to save about 1%, not quite 1%, a little bit less, is it really worth it or not, right? So that's exactly what this tool does. So we're going to look at a few different things over the course of the whole narrative here. We're going to look at current interest rates, new interest rates, remaining balance on the current mortgage, new balance on the new mortgage, refinancing term and number of years, and then new refinancing costs. So for my wife and I, that was 21K. And in other states, it's way less. It could be 2,000, 3,000. In your state, some states it's closer to 8, 9, 10,000. In New York City, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? They get you for everything. There's a mortgage recording tax. There's a tax levied by New York City and New York State for loans under 500,000. The rate is 1.8%. Over 500,000, the rate is 1.925%. Now, I understand most people watching this video probably don't live in New York City. I do, and I was subjected to all of these little gotchas, right, or whatever you want to call them, more like a BS probably. But there's a lot of fees, and these are all non-negotiable. You're not going to get out of it. You have to pay the fee, right? Or they won't do the refi. That's it. That's the bottom line right there, right? So it's a binary thing. You have loan origination fees, usually 0.5%. It could go up to 1.5%. You have discount points. You have loan application fees. You have an appraisal fee, right? That can be $300 to $700, maybe even more. It could be over $1,000 perhaps. There's a title search fee, insurance, title search and insurance, right? And you have to pay these things, right? There's a recording fee. There's a credit report fee. There's a document preparation fee, right? You can see where this is going, right? It's pretty insane pretty quick. But if you have to pay all these fees, you have to determine, is it worth it, right? If you go from 3.75%, that's where we were, down to 2.875%, you pay 21K for that benefit. Is it worth it, right? That's what I want to know, and that's how I'm going to answer it today. So I'm going to collect some basic information from the user, right, to make it very dynamic. I'm going to get the interest rate. I'm going to get the what else? Interest rate, number of years paid off, number of years remaining, things like that. So I made this very dynamic and interactive, and then eventually I want to get down to schedule payments, the month, the payment, the interest, the principal, and then the balance. And we're going to calculate total payments, total interest, total principal, and the rate and the total payments, and get an overall holistic calculation for everything to determine, is this worth it or not. That's a question I want to answer. Okay, so that's what this code does, and then eventually we create a data frame and show different scenarios: cumulative interest, cumulative principal, cumulative payments, and we're going to do the calculation, right? So these are all called UDFs. Anything that has a def is a defined function. This is UDF, and we set these UDFs to go ahead and help us do the processing, do all the capturing of information. UDFs will solve a variety of problems for us, right? If it's not a built-in function into Python, and Python has lots and lots and lots of functions built in. I don't even know how many they have think maybe 12,000 libraries right now, and every library by itself is going to have thousands of functions, and that most likely at least hundreds. How many in Python? Let's see, I'm going to say 12,000. Whoa, I was way off. 200,000. And some people say there's over 300,000. I was way off there. Okay, I had no idea about that. Well, there's a lot. Okay. And all these packages have a lot of functions. But if the function isn't available in these packages, you have to define it yourself, right? So that's what a user-defined function is. It's abbreviated UDF, user-defined function. If it doesn't exist, or in some cases, if you don't really know where to go to get it, because there's so many functions out there and there's so many libraries, you just define it yourself. Now, the benefit to using a predefined function is it's already been tested by the Python community. If there's any bugs or calculation errors, it would have been vetted out, and you can just use the function, plug it in, and go with it. But again, if you don't know where to go to find these things, and if it doesn't even exist, or you just don't want to spend a whole lot of time just searching around, you just define the function yourself, and you're good to go. So that's what these UDFs are for. Control Enter to run the cell. Okay. So that is running. We are going to start by capturing some information from the user, which conveniently is myself. Okay, let me take you through a little bit more down here. Let me check something real quick. Did I hit enter? I think I did, right? Did I hit enter? Control enter. Yeah. Okay. So those are all the UDFs. That is fine. We're going to go ahead and run the main function and get some information from the user. Okay. So we need the current interest rate, the current rate, right? The remaining balance, remaining term and number of years, remaining term on the mortgage and number of months, refinance rate, refinance terms and years and months, refinance costs, and rolling costs, right? Any extra payments, any extra payoff refinancing. Right now, I'm going to set these to 0. I don't think those come into play at this point. If you needed that as a parameter, you could add that in. I want to know the discount rate, right? And then we're going to go ahead and create a schedule for the amortization, like how fast is this current loan going to be paid off? How fast is the new loan, the newly issued loan that's going to replace the existing loan? How fast is that going to be paid off? And then what is the total paid on the loan? And I want the monthly payment. Okay, so we're going to get the monthly payment and look at the remaining balance and the amortization schedule after the refi, right? So you can see this gets somewhat complicated, right? If you really want to get an accurate view of how much you're going to save here and everything that goes into it and all the costs associated with this refinance, it is a little bit convoluted, right? But I think it's worth the effort to really understand, because you can save a ton of money if you do this right? And if you do it wrong, you're going to lose a ton of money. There's an old saying, a fool and his money are soon parted, right? Is that how it goes? A fool and his cash are soon parted. I think it was the first one. A fool and his money are soon parted, right? Like, if you don't understand how this works, there's somebody out there that does understand how it works, and they're going to take it from you, right? So it's in your best interest to understand this stuff. Okay, I can guarantee you. So we go through all the analysis down here, and then I'm going to print out the final results at the end. So let me hit Control Enter to start collecting information from the user, which conveniently is myself. And at the very end, we'll plot all the charts. So you can see some plotting down here. When we call this figure, we're going to plot the balance over time, then the remaining balance. Okay, that's the second thing over here. Then the cumulative savings over time. That's what I'm most interested in right here. Like, how much am I going to save if I go through with this refinance? So the current interest rate, remember in my scenario, it was 3.75%. Okay. So the remaining loan balance at the time we got, I think it was 820. I think there was like 750 left on loan. So we say 750 years remaining on the current mortgage. I think we had about, I forget, I'll say 25. I think we had 25, but give or take. The new interest rate. Okay, so that is 2.875. Desired refinance term in years. So that is going to be a 30-year loan. That's what we end up getting, 30-year fixed. expected refinance cost. So this was the kicker right here, right? So that was the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Is it worth it for me to spend $21,000, right? I'm not a rich guy. I don't have 21,000 sitting around. I don't think I ever had 21,000 ever in one place at one time, right? It's always in and out, in and out. It's a revolving door for me. So, is it worth it for me to come up with 21,000 and dig deep, and I mean deep, and go find that 21,000 somehow and pay this guy to help me to do the refinance? Is that worth it? Because I'm going from 3.75 to 2.875. It's going to cost me 21,000. Am I going to save money? Yes or no? That is the question I'm trying to answer here. And the roll finance costs into the new loan. Yes, because once I do this, like I think we actually had to borrow the money for this. So I'm going to say yes to that. So I'm going to actually finance the borrowing cost too, or the refinance cost. I'm sorry. Optional discount rate, MPV. I'm going to say yes. So this is a net present value, and I want a discount cost of 6%. Okay, I'm going to put 6 in there, enter. And here's the final results. Current monthly principal and interest was paying $3,855, right? The new payment is $3,189. So right there, I'm saving. If I put this into Excel, I think I have Excel open. Yep. If I put that into Excel, that was the old payment, right? 319882. 3198.82, right? That's what I'm seeing there. So savings equals $657 per month divided by, wait. So it's going to take 31 months to pay off, but then there's other closing costs too. Remember, like this is just the major one was the refinancing costs. There's like a title search and like an insurance thing that you have to get on there, and then riders and things like that, right? So just straight up, it's going to take 31 months to recover, but there's a few other costs baked in. So let's get an accurate estimate over here. Aligned horizon total savings is 197. Okay, and that's the same thing right there. Full term, current loan total interest 400,000, refinance total interest 380,000, internal difference 26,000. Right, that makes sense. 406 minus 380 is 26. MPV cash savings is 101,000, and the break even metric cash flow positive. Month one full recovery. Cumulative savings less than $21,000 is 32 months. Okay, so that was pretty close. It's off a little bit, but it's actually pretty close. 31, 32, rounding up. And then we have aligned horizon savings, compares each payment month by month over a shorter remaining term. If you change the term 30 to 50 years, there could be a lower, doesn't equal lower threshold. Rolling fees, raise new prices. Obviously, right? Taxes, escrow, PMI is private mortgage insurance. Or what? Preferred mortgage insurance. I forgot what that is. PMI is another cost. There could be points associated with that. I don't think we paid points, but these are all things that you have to be aware of, right? So consider opportunity costs of upfront cash using MPV inputs, right? Here's the chart to see how everything looks over time. So the refinance balance is going to be a little bit higher because remember, we took a new loan and refinanced it for another 30 years. I think 5 was paid off. So we have 5 more to add onto that loan. So it's going to go up further, right? It's never going to be less. It could be pretty close if you refinance after 1 or 2 years. But usually interest rates aren't going to change that much in 1 or 2 years. So that wouldn't really make sense. Usually it's like 5, 6, 7 years, maybe a little bit longer, or you're not going to do it, right? There's a small window of opportunity. So here's the savings over here. Fee recovery month 32. That's what we saw before, 32.21, because again, there's a few other small expenses figured in there. With just the straight method, it's 31.9. But when you account for a couple more expenses, it's actually 32.21 months. But you can see what the cumulative savings is. It's almost 200,000 at the end of the length of the mortgage, right? So even though I had to pay 21,000 up front, because I was saving, what is this? The savings over here, 657.16 for 360 months, right? Because 12 times 30 is 360. And put a dollar sign in that so it's easier to read. 236,577. And this is 298, 300,000. And why are these two different? Let me think about this for a second. This would be the savings. Oh, I think because of that 6% interest on that NPV, that would be added in there too. So you would take some of the savings and actually invest that money, and your total cumulative savings would actually be more. And that's what that is, right? So if you had 0% in the NPV and you didn't save any of that money, then it would be much closer to this, right? But if you take some of the savings and invest that for the next 30 years, equals 300 minus that. Took that basic amount that you're savings and invested that for 30 years, you're making 63K, approximate, right? Approximate. And these are all assumptions too, because there's no guarantee you're going to get 6% on your investment. You could have a couple bad years in the market and it could be down 6% for 2 or 3 years consistent, right? Like there's no guarantee you'll get 6%. So there's a lot of assumptions going on here, but it does make a big difference, right? So up front, you look at it and say, wow, $21,000 just to shave off less than 1% of my mortgage. Is that really worth it? The short answer, maybe this is a long answer to tell you the truth, but the answer, whether it's short or long, it doesn't matter, is substantial savings, $300,000. So if somebody says, would you rather have 21,000 or would you rather have 300,000? I'll pick 300,000 every single time, guys. I'll take that. Thank you very much. So let's look at just one or two other scenarios just to get you comfortable with how this thing works. So current interest rate, let's say it's 4%. Current remaining balance on loan, I'll say 27 years. Years remaining on current mortgage. Oh, wait, current remaining loan balance. Wait, I totally did that wrong. Sorry. You have to read what the question is saying, right? Like, oh, let me stop this thing. Do it again. Control Enter. Okay, so current interest rate. I think I'm talking too much. That's the problem here. Current remaining loan balance. I'm going to say 750. Remaining years on the mortgage 27. New refinance rate 2.875. Third term 30. I'm going to go with a 30-year fixed. Expected refinance cost. That's 21. I'm going to change up a little bit, right? Make it 30,000. This is expensive refinancing this time. Roll forward, yes. And 0%. I'm going to say 0% for this investment. So the old payment was $3,789. The new one is $32.36. So you're saving $552 per month. That's pretty good savings. So the net savings overall is $179,000. Current loan cost is $477. The new cost is $385. Interest difference is $92. NPV of savings $179. And this is what the payoff looks like now. So these are tighter because remember, I said only 3 years of the mortgage was paid off. I said you still have 27. So these two are tighter. Now the payoff recovery month is month 55. I think before it was month 30. I think that's what it said. But you're still saving by the end of this thing, by the end of the period. And on the x-axis over here is number of months, right? So 360 months for the 30-year fixed, you're still saving $324,000. So even though you're paying more, you're paying like, what did I say, $30,000 for the refinance costs, but the interest rate was higher at this point, right? So the interest rate was 4%, went to 2.875%. It's still totally worth it. I'll run this one more time with some kind of extreme, ridiculous example. If you were paying, let's say 8%, like somehow you got into an 8% mortgage. I guess nowadays it's actually pretty high. It could be. And you had 500,000 left and years remaining on the mortgage. Let's say it's 15 now. So now you'll see a bigger gap between these two plots at the end because more of the mortgage is paid off, but it still probably makes sense to do the refinance. So refinance rate, I'm going to say 2%. Okay, so this is pretty extreme. We're going from 8% right down to 2%. That's a heck of a deal. But let's say, 30-year fixed. I want the 30. Let's say the expected refinance costs are like $80,000. Would you do this for $80,000, guys? Okay. So I could go ahead and do the calculation. It's a little bit complicated. It's not too bad, but this tool makes it very, very, very simple, right? Would you do this for 80,000? I think it's still worth it. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens here. Refinance costs into the new loan. I'll say no. I'll just pay that out of my pocket. Okay, so it's 80,000 out of the pocket. If you roll it into the new loan, you're getting 500,000. That's what's left on the loan right here, right? Plus 80,000. I'll just say yes to make this even more extreme. Right now, we're financing the refinance costs, right? That's hard to say that. It's a tongue twister. I'm going to say yes. And the original discount rate, I'll just skip it. Okay, so there's no discount. So we went from 4,778 per month to 2,143. So it took it down by half, right? We're saving 2,634 per month. The net savings is 474. Current total interest is 360. The new one is 191. So now you see a bigger gap, right? Because 15 years of that mortgage were paid off. The old mortgage is in blue, right? You didn't have too much left to go. Now you have a new mortgage that goes out here. It still makes sense to pay 80,000 because you're going from 8% interest down to 2%. If somebody comes up and says, yo, give me 80K, I'll take care of you. Still makes sense to do that, right? Still makes sense to do that. I'll do one more example here. If you go from a very, 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 very small drop in the interest rate, current interest rate, let's say 3%, 450 left on the loan. Years remaining, I'll say 15. Refinance cost. So this is the big question. 2.75%. So we're going from 3 to 2.75. Is that going to help us or not? 30-year fixed. That's what I want. Expected refinance costs. I'm going to make this again 80,000. Pretty unrealistic, but let's just see if it makes sense. I don't think this makes any sense. You're only going to save 25 basis points there. I don't think it makes any sense. Roll refinance costs. Let's blow it up and just refinance the refinance. And discount rate for MPV. Skip. Enter and skip it. And it actually still makes sense here. You're just dropping the mortgage by 0.25%, right? So 25 basis points. Now it takes much longer to recover, but it still makes sense because of the savings over here, right? So you went from 3,107 to 2,163. And the savings is 943 per month. So that's it. You're saving 943 per month. It still makes sense because you have a pretty big balance here, right? If this was small, like, I don't know, like 45,000 or so, and then you paid 80,000 to refinance that would make no sense, whatever. That would blow up the whole model. I don't even think that would even run. But anyways, that's it, guys. That's how to run a mortgage refinance decision support tool. So I am going to save this code and share it with you guys. Okay, save it as an HTML file, and I will post that when I post a video a little bit today. You can take a look at the code, play around with it, take it apart, put it back together, re-engineer it, do it whatever you want. Okay, so hopefully this was educational and enlightening, and hopefully now you know how mortgages work and how refinancing works, and you can quickly and easily do this analysis for yourself and save yourself tons and tons and tons of money. Remember, a fool and his money are soon parted, but if you know what to do, you can keep that money in your pocket, right, and profit from it. Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to stop the video. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.